This is the Footbrawl Podcast with your hosts, Tyler, Andy, and Boyer.
Welcome back to Mantasy Footbrawl Podcast, presented by your performance-enhancing dads. What's happening, fellas? You guys have a good week of football?
Yes, I did.
Andy, I'm sorry, man.
I mean, my team's doing what it needs to do, and I lost Javante, so not a good week for me.
That's fair. All right, we're going to jump into quick fun facts, quick recap, a little true-false, some trade talk, and then we'll hit next week's recap. So here we go. Couple fun facts. The PEDs are the only three teams, again, averaging over 100 points a week. I'm
pretty sure our win percentage is still 500 between the three of us, though. Am I right?
You are correct, sir.
One of us might be pulling us down. I have the highest points against by a long shot. I am the only team to have had 100-plus points scored on me all 4 weeks. Not an average of, but 140 or 100 every week or more. Not happy about it. Where some people are barely hitting the mid 300s, and I'm at 440. So this game is stupid. Another fun fact, I lied about all Fryer facts last week about him being good. He showed his true colors this week, didn't do much. Maybe I just lost a bad Fryer team. I don't know. Not happy about it.
I wasn't a part of that podcast.
Well, I said something about Fryer being good and possible future champ, and he had high-scoring points and good weeks, and I don't know.
Oh, no, I listened to it. I just didn't want to be a part of that. I wasn't actually sick. I knew what was happening, and I distanced myself, if you know.
That's fair. All right. So, last week's recap. I finally get a win against Andy. I appreciate you, Andy. Andy gets how I feel the first 3 weeks of the season. All of a sudden, Andy had DK carted off for a shit, and Javante go down with an ACL tear. Pittman had a down week for me, but Eckler put up a huge game. McCaffrey bounced back. I'm getting the momentum I need. Let's keep this rolling. Walker beats Jeremy in a low-scoring game. Walker starts his optimal lineup, other than he should have played Lockett over Cooper, but nobody was calling that one, so sorry about your luck. Jeremy sits CEH for Josh Reynolds, which could have gotten him the win. Not sure that's the move I would have made, but it's the move he made. So, Jeremy, you lost on a bad decision. Paul gets a win over what was undefeated duo. Duo is now 3-1. With Patterson hitting the IR with a knee injury, it opened the door for Paul to grab this victory on the backs of Tom Brady and Deebo Samuel. Even with the loss to Paul, Duo had a good showing out of Sutton and King Henry, and they also dropped a kicker this week, so that was a plus. Fryer hands this win to Robbie. Fryer decided he didn't like points in his lineup, but on his bench, he decided to bench Hollywood Brown with 14, Damian Harris with 14, and Judy with 11. His bench kicker, now Fryer has 2 kickers, his bench kicker outscored his starting kicker. Good work, Fryer. Fryer also has Dalton Schultz, which has gone negative 0.2, injured, and 0 over the last 3 weeks. Hopefully you get your tight end situation figured out. Robbie gets a monster week from Hawkinson to secure this win. Najee really needs to start finding room to run, and Mooney needs to keep getting at least one deep pass downfield to be relevant. That's the only way you're going to keep this winning way going. You need Mooney to catch at least one deep ball, and that's living on a prayer. Chris shoots himself in the foot this week against Charlie. Chris had all of his receivers go under 10. Cousins looked bad in London, and Chris left Penny for 27 and Dobbins for 18 on his bench this week. Charlie rises on the back of unlikely heroes in Jared Goff and Brett Maher. Maher put up 15-plus points. Way to get a win out of your kicker. The addition of CeeDee Lamb this past week matched Kelsey's output. Didn't really affect his total, but Charlie gets to win. Colin doesn't listen to the podcast or doesn't listen to me. I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. Colin takes a loss. Boyer, that means you got the win. Congratulations. If Colin would have taken my advice, I messed up week 1. I sat the Bills defense because they were playing a good team. They put up big points had I played them week 1. I win. Colin sits the Niners defense, one of the best defenses in the game, or the Chargers. Niners put up 21 points. I said start the Niners. Andy said start the Chargers. I told you to play the best defense that you got, and the Niners were them. You would have won. Devonta Smith looked bad. Jonathan Taylor looked bad and had 20 carries before having this ankle injury. I don't know what to do with that guy, but he's looked bad. Luckily, you may not have to make that decision this week. It may be made for you. Boyer plays his best lineup and puts up 110. Maybe Boyer can actually continue to compete and have big weeks with Hall and Pierce looking solid, instead of being a mediocre slide into the playoffs like he has been every other year.
I'll still lose in the first round. Don't even worry about it.
All right. So there's a quick recap of last week. All you winners, good work. All you guys that made bad lineup decisions, be better.
I do just want to point out real quick, I'm number 1 right now. Like, I'll never feel this again. It'll never happen again. I just want to feel the, like, Andy, is this how you feel all the time? Like,
No,
except for now,
rarely.
of course, but
Even when my team was scoring the most points and I was like, I'm going to win the championship, I was fighting for a wild card most of the
that's
time.
true, 'cause
So
I was getting division half the time. Yeah, that was fun.
All right. So Andy, with those results, how did we do last week as a podcast analyst?
slightly better.
We have not been good at this so far.
Well, some more than others.
We got me right.
We all picked Ty. We all picked Walker. We all picked Boyer. So that's 3 for Ty. Boyer did pick Robbie to beat Fryer. He was the only one, so Boyer gets 4. I was the only one that picked Paul to beat the duo, so I get 4 as well, bringing our 4-week win totals to 12 for me, 12 for Boyer, and 9 for Ty. Ty can't even call a coin flip right half the time. So
I got a quick question. You missed the Charlie game. Did we not pick Charlie?
no, none of us picked Charlie.
But I was kidding, because clearly none of us picked Charlie. Good work, Charlie.
None of us picked Charlie. I don't think any of us will be picking Charlie, except maybe when he plays Jeremy, but we'll get to that in a minute.
All right. Let's go to the trades that went down yesterday, aka today, but you guys will listen to it tomorrow. Boyer, run us through some trades.
Yeah, so Andy trades Adam Thielen, Pacheco, $7 in 2023 over to Jeremy for Mixon and Curtis Samuel. Ty, I'm going to let you give me your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas on what this trade means for both teams.
So at this point, I think Thielen and Curtis Samuel can be pretty much lumped into a similar category. I think Thielen is still better, but not by that much. Thielen has not been getting great production. He's had a good game. Curtis Samuel's had good games. The Commandos have just not been great the last couple weeks. So if they start throwing the ball and Wentz starts hitting, Samuel could be better than Thielen throughout the year. I don't necessarily expect it, but there are definitely the boom games in Samuel. There are the boom games in Thielen. I'm going to give the edge to Thielen there. Pacheco and 7 for Mixon. I'll take Mixon for a backup running back and 7 all day. I get Pacheco is the CEH handcuff, which benefits Jeremy's team, I guess. It helps him with lineup decisions, I guess. But I don't know. $7 for Mixon is really what that's looking like. Mixon's a clear RB1. I know he's not been getting good. He's been getting the volume, but not been getting great production. The line's not been great. I get all that, but I still expect him to go for more than 7. So that's where I'm at. I think Andy won that trade.
Yeah,
Where do you think I'll go last?
Yeah, I think Andy wins the trade. Interesting story. Jeremy texted me early this morning and says, do you want to talk trades? And I woke up at like 8:30. And by that time, the Andy's trade has already gone through. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally down. And Jeremy was like, too late. And I was like, so but I think Andy wins this one. I don't think Thielen over the course of the season is really that great of a player. I think that we could see him kind of fall down as the season goes along. And I think that we could see Curtis Samuel continue to give those boom bust options. Andy doesn't really need the wide receiver depth, but the fact that he got a guy to kind of replace him and having that rotation is almost criminal. I don't think that Curtis Samuel should have been in this at all. I think is that Jeremy should have said, screw you, you've got 18 receivers. Like, I'm going to keep Curtis Samuel for myself. That would have made things a little bit more even. But Mixon for 7, an old wide receiver, and Pacheco, who is technically still running back 4 or 2 or 3, depending on the week, in Kansas City.
He's pretty clearly established as the 2 at this point.
I mean, but you never know. Like with Andy Reid, you never know. So, especially with the fact that like McKinnon can take over like passing downs and those type of things, like really it's about CH getting an injury, where Pacheco, I think, is going to become, someone who you would consistently play. Not even play every week, just consistently know when to play. So
sure.
I think if Jeremy had just flat out sold Mixon to someone who desperately needed him, I think he could have gotten more. But I think Andy makes a great trade here after losing Javonte. And I told Andy last night, I saw you. What did I freaking say? I said, you're going to make a trade and you're going to still be annoying for the rest of the year. And this is the trade that you make. And like, that's what happens. Mixon's now going to be like an RB, like 12 or 10, just enough to keep you in the race. I think it was a great trade for Andy. It kind of makes sense for Jeremy, but Andy, good call.
All right, so I'm going to just walk through the discussion with Jeremy, and then I want to talk a little bit about Jeremy's perspective, because I think the league agrees that I did well in this trade. But Jeremy reached out this morning to dangle Mixon and say, hey, I know you lost Javonte. You want to talk a blockbuster? And I was like, okay, like, how much are we talking? Like, I'm not moving Chubb, clearly. That doesn't fix my problem. And he said, he said, my team's in a tough spot, so I'm looking to not tank my team, but also have an eye to next year while still competing this year. And I was like, fine. Who do you like, and what's the cost? And he said he was gonna reach out to Boyer about Dameon Pierce and some cash. And he said, I was thinking maybe like $10 for Mixon, or like Thielen and 6. And I was like, those are really good prices. And he's like, but I want to wait and see what Boyer says. I was like, Boyer has Dameon Pierce, and I don't have anybody like Dameon Pierce on my team. Why don't you just talk to me? I'll give you Thielen and 8. If you just say yes, do it now, and we'll be done with it. And he was like, throw in Pacheco, and I'll do it now. And I was like, ooh. I like Pacheco. Jeremy does too. I think Jeremy understands the talent that's there. Having the handcuff is nice, but I think there's a chance that Pacheco gets into the workload a little bit more the back half of the year, and there's a lot of keeper value there if and when that happens. So I was like, that's a tough one for me. And I was like, why don't we add in Romeo Doubs or Hopkins or something, and I'll include Pacheco. And Jeremy's like, want to keep those guys. How about Curtis Samuel, and I'll drop it down to 7. Sold. And he agreed not to talk to Boyer. So made sure that very important piece happened. But I think Jeremy was looking to get rid of Mixon because Mixon's averaging less than 3 yards a carry, which is horrendous. He's got second most carries in the league, I think, to Saquon right now. Wow. And he's got less than half of the yards. I think Saquon has 85 carries and Mixon has 84, and Saquon has more than double the rushing yards. That's how bad Mixon's doing. The offensive line's been horrible, and I think Jeremy sees this as, if Mixon doesn't turn the corner, and there's not a lot of signs that he will, then his value is just going to keep going down. So trade him now while I can, because there's no keeper value in him. I kept him last year. And get a guy like Pacheco that could be a keeper, a guy like Thielen that can help me this year, and some cash for next year before the value goes down. And I get that. I think he could have gotten more. I don't know what Boyer would have done with Pierce and money. I don't know what that would have looked like, because thankfully I got in there. But I will say I am high on Mixon going forward. The Bengals retooled their entire offensive line in the offseason, and it was widely understood that they got a lot better at the offensive line with the guys that they added. They were really bad last year, and Mixon had a really good year. But the offensive line is something that functions as a unit, not as a bunch of individuals. So that takes a little bit of time when you got 5 new guys coming together to figure it out. So this should get better as the season goes on, and I'm hopeful that Mixon returns to form.
Yeah, so the fun part of this podcast is that, at least for some of these trades, we get to talk about the what ifs, like where you got the trade, I was asked about the trade, like what was I going to offer? And he was asking for Pierce, and I think 5 or 6 or something like that. And I told him is that there's just no way I would have done that. Pierce has a ton of keeper value at this point with only 15 draft dollars. He's doing really, really well. Lovie Smith is clearly going to run the ball, whether they're down or not. It doesn't matter. And I wasn't going to give up Pierce and money to get a very underperforming running back, despite the fact that, yes, I do think that Mixon will have a bounce back. That's why I think that Andy won this trade. But it was not something that I felt like I was really in the position to go ahead and just do. Like, I'm happy enough with my team. Andy needed the running back.
This is why Boyer doesn't win championships right here, guys. You're seeing it live. Pierce and $5, ditch the keeper, sell high, buy low, and you ride that to a championship. Where he's still learning.
We'll see at the end of the year, but it was not something.
One of you is going to win a championship at the end of the year. Get out of here.
Ty, you gotta make playoffs here still, bud.
I know we had that talk last week.
So either way, it wasn't something I was going to be willing to do. So, you know, Andy and Jeremy were probably going to make that trade, and it saved me a lot of headache as I tried to negotiate with Jeremy throughout. You know, so thank you, Andy, for being that salesman that you needed to be.
You guys know what else is cool? There's another trade. Let's hit it.
The other trade, Walker trades Cooper, Rodgers, and 2 draft dollars in 2023. Jeremy gives up Hopkins and Reynolds. Andy, I'll let you start with this one.
Well,
yeah.
For as much as people think Jeremy probably lost the Mixon trade, he turned around and won this one. Josh Reynolds was a 1-week wonder while DJ Chark was out. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown was out. Swift is down. There was nobody to throw to. So who did they throw to? Josh Reynolds. Congratulations, Jeremy, on cashing in on 1 week. Walker, not great, I don't think there, bud. And then Hopkins. Hopkins had a rough year last year. The Cardinals offense doesn't look great. Maybe Hopkins is the catalyst that turns it around, but I think he's 29. He's coming off a suspension. He's coming off a not great year. I'm not buying that, not to mention the fact that you don't get him until week 7. And a couple weeks after that, Amari Cooper gets Deshaun Watson back, which should up his value only a couple of weeks after Hopkins starts playing. So the fact that Jeremy got a quarterback, not a great one right now, but Rodgers can do Rodgers things to fix his quarterback problem, in my opinion, upgraded at receiver and pulled out draft cash. Like, this whole trade hinges on what Hopkins does, and if he's not a top 12 type receiver, then I don't know what the hell Walker was doing.
Well, and so my big question, I guess, is Walker has Justin Jefferson. Walker has A.J. Brown. Walker has Tyler Lockett, which is a fine fill-in. And he had Amari Cooper. The 4 of those are fine. I don't think Hopkins, Josh Reynolds.
If Hopkins is that top 12 guy, and you've got 3 top tier receivers, that's scary. I think Walker's team's very good.
Yeah, but Josh Reynolds isn't doing anything, like you said.
No.
And like you said, Hopkins, he's not even getting him back for another couple of weeks. So
I mean, if Reynolds performs for the next 2 weeks while Hopkins is still suspended, and then you drop Reynolds and have Hopkins to play at that point, but I don't know that I'm banking on that. I'd rather have just rolled with Amari Cooper.
Reynolds is on a bye in 2 weeks, which doesn't help. So he's really only got 1 week left before he's on a bye, and they are pretty much guaranteed to get Amon-Ra and Chark back after the bye, would be my guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe it works. I don't see it. I wouldn't have done it.
I just didn't think it was necessary for Walker's team at this point either to move Cooper, which has been good, for a question mark in Hopkins. So, Boyer, anything extra?
No, except this is Andy. I don't think you understand. This is a clearly buy low opportunity. This is why you don't win champion. No, I'm just kidding. I agree with everything.
Hey, I asked about Hopkins in my deal with Jeremy. He told me no.
That's because he was working another deal already.
I guess.
No, I agree with everything you guys said. You guys said it all, so I won't beat a dead horse. That is Walker at this point.
That's good. All right. Let's jump on to true or false. Go ahead, Andy.
All right. First one, pretty easy. Don't cheat. The Chiefs have scored the most points in the league so far this year. True or false?
False.
False.
Who you got?
Most points?
Scored the most points.
Lions.
I was going to say the Lions are averaging one of the highest, but I don't know if they've. I'm thinking the Lions as well.
All right. I figured you guys might peek Philly or something on that one. KC's second at 129. Philly's only got 115. The Lions are at 140.
They've had some absolutely astronomical numbers.
The Lions' lowest score right now, I think, is 25 or 27 points in a week.
Yeah, and they scored like 45 and 38 or something like that at one point. So
yeah, it's been crazy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, can't stop anybody, but
no, being 1-3 with the most points in the league is not ideal.
No, generally that's usually a recipe for at least winning games in the regular season. So Lions doing Lions things, I guess.
Lions doing Tyler things, you know.
So you're the Lions this year. Is that what you're trying to tell us, Ty? Because that shouldn't make you feel good.
I've given up the most points and I've scored the most points.
All right, let's move to the next one that's a little bit more subjective. Hawkinson is a top 4 tight end rest of season.
I've been saying he's a top 5 tight end since the beginning, so I'm going to say true.
I'm going to say false. And I'm going to start off. The why is simply because it took everyone dying to get him to this point. Now, granted, he had just an absolutely astronomically great game. And this is what we know that he could do. For years now, I feel like we've been waiting for this kind of breakout. But it took the entire team dying before he could do it. So once the rest of the team comes back, we know Amon-Ra is great. We know Chark is going to be involved. Reynolds could be involved on a consistent basis and start taking targets away from everybody involved. We don't know. They clearly want to run the ball, and when Swift comes back, that's going to be a thing. So I think Hawkinson's very talented. He's a very good tight end. He'll probably be in the top 8. I don't think he'll be in that like top 3 or 4 or 5 conversation for the rest of the season, even if he gets a couple great games here in the next game or two until guys come back.
Yeah. Hawkinson's first 3 weeks, 4 catches for 38 yards, 3 catches for 26 yards, 3 catches for 18 yards, and a touchdown. So high game in catches was 4, high game in yards was 38 yards. Then everybody got hit by a bus, and in week 4, he balled out for 8 catches, 179, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion against the very bad Seahawks defense.
So my question is, Kelsey Andrews,
sure,
Goddard, Higbee.
Yeah, it's tough. Tight end's a wasteland again. This feels a lot like 2 years ago, where there's just nobody after the top 2 guys. So it's like he could be there just by default, right? It doesn't take that much to be top 4 if you're going to be number 3 or number 4.
I mean, at this point, you could say Will Dissly's a top 4 tight end because he's had a touchdown 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, but that's not going to continue. I mean,
right, and we're talking about rest of season, so I'm assuming his 30-point game does not count for if we were to say rest of season, week 5 and on. Is he? So my thought is that he's going to continue to be this very touchdown dependent, low yardage guy, and I don't think the Lions even need to rely him for these touchdowns because they've got other guys that they're relying on very clearly before this week. So I think you're going to see guys like, and I have Tunyon, but like I think you're going to see guys like Tunyon surpass him. Even if Tunyon's at 9, Hawkinson could be at 8 just because it's yards versus touchdowns.
Sure.
So it's who's going to get touchdowns at tight ends. And I don't think Hawkinson's going to be the guy that they look for that. And I don't think he's going to have the yards with how many mouths they end up just distributing it to actually do it. But
the good thing is we've seen that Goff can be a good quarterback. We've seen that the Lions can score the most points in the league right now.
I mean,
what do you do?
Definitely helps.
You chase points. You chase high-scoring teams, which is the Lions right now. And if this is the week that it takes him to say, "Oh shit, Hawkinson is still good. We forgot about him for some stupid reason." I mean, sometimes it takes 1 week for Goff to build that connection. Now they want to throw the ball to each other.
I personally don't.
I just want to see it when the rest of the team's healthy.
Well, I agree.
I personally don't think NFL teams forget about personnel. Just like a thought that I have. But my thinking is that if they're the highest scoring team and Hawkinson was still only getting 28 or 36 yards or whatever it is that Andy just spit out before this week, then where does he go? It's not like they have like what happens when they kind of crash back down to earth and start scoring 24 points a game or 20 points a game. They run into defenses who are actually decent. I don't think that Hawkinson's going to be the guy on the team because they have a couple of the guys and their running backs and Sun God are their main guys. So rest of season, I don't see it.
So
I could be wrong. It's possible he's very talented. But I don't see it. We didn't see it last year. And
so is Darren Waller a bad tight end?
I think the Raiders offense under Josh McDaniels is not
Josh
great.
McDaniels is a bad coach. Yeah.
Which is probably not changing this year. So Waller is going to be, but again, so Ty says true. Hawkinson's a top 4. Boyer says no. Probably.
I say I've always said top 5. You put it at 4, so why not? If he's gonna be top 5,
my answer is maybe, but if he does, it's more by default than by his like he's not jumping into the Kelsey Andrews tier.
No.
And after that, it's just a lot of shit.
There's not a tier. There's 12 or 15 of them.
Right. So could he be in the top 2 of that next group of tight ends? Sure, it's whoever has 7 touchdowns instead of 5 is going to be toward the top of that, and that could be Hawkinson. But I'm not buying this last week as a breakout. I think that it was a product of circumstances more than anything.
Sure. All right, moving on.
All right, last one. Walker wins the bottom division. True or false?
Hold on, gotta pull the bottom division here.
Yeah, so you've got Jeremy and Charlie. I think
it's a duo or Walker.
It's a duo or Walker. I'll run down rosters real quick. Jalen Hurts, Courtland Sutton, Keenan Allen, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Tyler Higbee, Bobby Trees, Garrett Wilson, Corduroy Panderson, Jahan Dotson, Naheem Hines, Dontrell Hilliard for the duo. And then you've got Walker with Kyler Murray, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Zeke, Melvin Gordon, now the starter in Denver, Kyle Pitts, Tyler Lockett, Tony Pollard, Darrell Henderson, Mark Ingram, Noah Brown, Josh Reynolds, DeAndre Hopkins. Walker currently 1 game behind the duo.
If Walker can maintain health with the running backs he has, I'm going to say Walker can do it. I think his starting lineup is better than the duo starting lineup. week in and week out. Kamara, I don't know what the hell's happened with that guy. Keenan Allen can't stay healthy for the duo. Patterson's out. You're banking on Jahan Dotson and Garrett Wilson being good if Allen's out. I mean, Cortland Sutton's been fine, but he's not a blow-up game kind of guy yet. Robert Woods is a safe floor kind of guy. I just don't see the upside outside of Jalen Hurts and Derrick Henry on the duo's team.
I think that there's more upside there. I mean, Sutton has been solid on what has been kind of a bad Denver offense, and at any point in time, they could start to click. I mean, it was a brand new quarterback coming into the system, a new coach who maybe doesn't know what he's doing, but still, it's Russell Wilson. I see Sutton probably having more upside than we all think, just because he's been solid and that Denver team sucks. But halfway through the year, they could figure it out. Derrick Henry could literally drag duo to the potential like wild cardish range. But because I'm saying wild cardish range, I'm going to agree. I'm going to say true, because I think Walker has he has a deeper team at the very least. He doesn't have as many injury issues. Duo's team hinged a lot on Corduroy Patterson, and he's back week 9 potentially I think is the earliest he can come back. And that's a lot of time for him not to have a running back too. I think Walker could grab enough, take back the division lead, grab enough of it to hold on to it going forward. And he's got really good receivers, and his running backs aren't bad. So I'm going to go with Walker on this one.
I also have Walker. Unpopular opinion, I would take Walker's running backs over the duos at this point. Duos got Henry, Kamara, and then Patterson, who's hurt. Hines and Hilliard are just handcuffs. And Walker's got Zeke, Pollard, Henderson, and Melvin Gordon. All of those guys are contributors. He's got his bye weeks covered a lot better. And unless Kamara starts doing something, I think Walker's got a very slight edge there, which leaves the duo with the only advantage being Hurts over Kyler, and Kyler's no slouch. So I gave it to Walker.
I mean, right now you have to give it to Walker because Duo doesn't have a running back too. Because Kamara, we don't know what he is and why. It's just been a mess. But Kamara and Henry are the better duo, assuming health.
Sure, but let's say Kamara's out this week and back next week, and Duo loses this week and Walker wins this week, then they're neck and neck, and they've got the whole rest of the season ahead of them.
Right.
It's interesting because I actually think like Kamara could kind of get back a little bit to his older self if Andy Dalton was the starter. I don't think with Jameis, I don't think we'll see the same Kamara with Jameis all year. So,
which is stupid.
Yeah, right. So Duo has to kind of hope that Jameis gets hurt or is ineffective enough that Andy Dalton becomes the quarterback, which looks terrible for the Saints, but I think it would look great for Kamara because I think he'll get a lot of more dump offs and those screens and swings and things like that he had been getting with Drew Brees that he's not getting with Jameis because Jameis has an arm. He can throw it downfield.
All right. Ready to move on to how? What you drinking? I haven't seen either of you take a drink yet, so I'm not sure if anybody's drinking anything.
I got water.
Where?
Guinness.
You're saving us. I had Mia Sodi because I'm in the office. So.
Did you drink the rest of the church beer?
Yeah, it's gone in the office.
That's a bummer.
Dang it.
So I'm the alcoholic once again. At least I have a role.
I was around the last couple of weeks. Where were you last week? Dang it. All right. Good work on saving us on that one. I wasn't even sure if we were having that segment right now because I hadn't seen it. So good work. Let's move on to week 5 matchups. We are going to start, Andy, since you're probably more prepared and pulled up. Me versus Chris.
All right. Chris, I think, has He's got a quarterback decision. Neither of these guys has been doing well. Cousins against the Bears or Stafford against Dallas. I'm leaning Cousins, but both defenses are decent.
I think I go to Stafford this week.
Stafford hasn't thrown a touchdown in the last 2 weeks, which feels like he's due.
Yeah, I'm leaning Stafford.
I would go with Stafford here.
I don't. Neither one makes me feel good.
No more.
Hold on. Both of them make me feel good.
Well, yeah, you're the other side of this. So, and then he's got Dalvin Cook, the Lions, Williams, Jamal. Thank you. It's not James, it's not Javante. Jamal Williams, and then J.K. Dobbins are his 3 starting running backs. Anybody putting Penny in against the Saints? I don't think so. Saints are usually pretty good against the run, and I think Dobbins is good enough to have in the starting lineup after getting a touchdown last week.
Yeah, you're not sitting Jamal right now. You're not sitting Cook because that's your best draft pick.
Yep.
And Dobbins, I think you have to play. Cincinnati's not been great. So I'm leaving it as is.
All right.
Yeah, I know Penny had a blow up game, but he had 6-1-6 before that. So
fair. All right. Ty's decisions are if you're taking Pittman or Singletary out for Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is playing against Seattle, who just got torched by Hawkinson. I could see it, but I'm probably worrying a bit about Thomas's health after missing last week. So, Boyer, I don't know if he's still on. Ty, you lean in a certain way, or you're going to leave it how you have it?
I think I'm just going to leave Singletary in. Pittsburgh's defense has not been great this year. I think you just got to let that offense roll.
Yeah.
And bank. I mean, Singletary hasn't been great either. 6-2, 15-7. So I mean, he's had one good week, but nothing to write home about the rest of them. So, but I think against Pittsburgh he'll be fine. The only downfall is if the Bills get up by enough, they start running James Cook, they start running Zach Moss, something goes haywire. But if they go up by enough, hopefully Singletary has a touchdown at that point, and then we'll be fine.
All right. I am going to take Ty in this one, as I think we all will. Chris is going to need a big game out of Dalvin Cook and Jamar Chase and Stephon Diggs to hang with Ty in this one. But the Mahomes-Kelsey stack is pretty sweet, and the rest of Ty's team is killer, as we saw last week. Boyer, who you got?
I've got Ty for obvious reasons, because Ty's team is stacked. But the one thing I kind of want to point out right now, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, the Yahoo projections jumped super high all of a sudden, right? Like last week, a couple weeks ago, they were they felt low. They're the highest was Ty, I think, at 102.
Yeah, well, Yahoo's scoring projections are very reactive. In the first 3 weeks, scoring was down across the league, and then there was a pretty big boom this past week. So Yahoo's like, hey, people are scoring points again. Let's change everything.
Yeah, it just feels weird to have Ty at 102 last week or 104, and now he's jacked up to 113. It's oh, well, that feels like he should just be given the win. Let's not even play the games at this point. So
no, we have to play the
friendly
games
reminder that projections do not matter.
Right. I'm just saying is that it's just really weird to see how they fluctuated so drastically. But yeah, I'm going with Ty.
Ty, who are you picking?
I'm picking myself. But if Jamal Williams has a big game again, I could be in trouble.
That's fair.
I think that's a lot of what it's going to hinge on. The Chase versus Higgins matchup is going to be rough. Who gets the ball the most and who scores the most? And then it's going to come down to, does Jamal Williams put up 22 points like he did the last couple of weeks? New England's defense is okay, pretty good, but who the hell knows?
Chris definitely has the firepower to pull off a victory, but I'm still going to go with Ty. Just
right.
1-4 would absolutely shock me. It would make me really happy on the podcast to see you just absolutely upset, but I don't think it happens. I think that you finally get a win when you're supposed to get a win.
It'd just be week 5 that I have 100 points scored against me. 5 weeks in a row. All right.
Probably
well,
Chris's team is good.
right? Yeah. All right. So, Andy, you want to jump us to?
Nope, I did this one.
No, Boyer. Jump us to Jeremy versus Fryer. Take us to the game of the week here, man.
Look, the game of the week. All right. So we're primarily just looking at changes as far as like who they could play in certain spots. Yeah.
He's figuring it out.
All right. So Jeremy's newly acquired Thielen in place of Amari Cooper? ?
Newly acquired Amari Cooper.
No, newly acquired Thielen. I said.
They're both newly acquired.
Oh, are they? Well, either way. Thielen or Cooper is probably all I've got. He's got Christian Kirk at wide receiver against Houston. So despite his rough outing last week, I think you got to play him. Amon-Ra is questionable, so it depends on if he plays. Any thoughts as far as like Thielen versus Cooper? If Amon-Ra doesn't play, do you throw Dobbs out there over any of these wide receivers? His wide receivers are kind of a mess if Amon-Ra doesn't play, to be fair.
I don't mind getting Chase Edmonds in the lineup against the Jets. I think I'm playing Thielen first and then Amari Cooper. So and then Edmonds last. So that means even if Amon-Ra doesn't play, I would have Cooper and Thielen in there before I put Edmonds, but I don't mind the Edmonds play against the Jets. But as it stands, I would put Thielen in over Cooper in the flex.
I like Romeo Dobbs, but I don't think I can start him over some of these other options. So I'm with Andy. I'm with Andy. If Amon-Ra's playing, you're playing him. But if I think I'm probably leaning the upside of Cooper over the safe floor of Thielen if I'm Jeremy. So I'm probably putting Cooper in, leaving Cooper in the flex right now. And then Thielen would be my other option if Amon-Ra doesn't play.
Yeah, I think Dobbs is a nice player to have to see what happens because he could end up being really good. But for this week, I would play Thielen personally. Chicago's defense is like weirdly good but not good, so I think Thielen probably has a better chance of touchdowns versus Cooper against the Chargers. But Chargers haven't been that good either, so what do I know? Looking at Fryer over here, I'm thinking, Lamar had a rough game last week. I'm thinking that maybe he goes out and gets somebody on free agency. He's got to bench him against Cincinnati. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but
you're really pulling for Jeremy this week, huh?
Okay, for real, Dalton Schultz. Andy had talked about him for a while. I know that there are tight ends options available for trade. There might even be a couple out there available in free agency. Are we making a move if we're Fryer to get Dalton Schultz off the team, or at least bench him and get somebody who might put on some points? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on Dalton Schultz long term here? And by long term, I mean for this game and going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Schultz had 6.2 points in week 1 when Dak was the quarterback. And since then, he has totaled negative 0.2 points. He did miss a game, I think, in week 3, or else just didn't have any targets. I'm not sure which it is.
I think he was out with a possible knee injury week 3.
Yeah, I think he missed that game. But last week, 3 targets, no catches against the Washington Commandos, which is not a great defense. So
and now they've got the Rams and Philly after that.
Yeah, so I don't feel good about it. I haven't looked at what options are out there because I have Goddard and I feel confident in that. So I haven't really had to deal with the whole tight end landscape since Charlie told me I couldn't have Kelsey. But
Fryer, are you making a move for another, quasi decent tight end just to try and have him, or are you just
There's no reason for Fryer to have 2 kickers. So drop a kicker, go add a tight end, and then once he has a guy, we can talk about if he's better than Schultz or not.
All right, real quick. You got Will Dissly, which has had 3 touchdowns this year. You've got Conklin, which has had 5 to 9 targets every week. Mo Alley Cox, which is
just had a huge game.
6 targets, 6 receptions, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Those are really your guys.
Mo Alley Cox is going to be up there with Hawkinson, tight end 3, tight end 4 the rest of the season because they both did good last week.
You've got Hayden Hurst there that had 3 catches, 27 yards, and a touchdown. I'm not really banking on him, but he had 4, 2, 1, and 8. So, I mean, at least he's getting more than negative 0.2.
Yeah. Here's what I do. I'm adding somebody because I'm worried about Schultz, but I'm still playing Schultz this week.
Okay, that's fair. So I just wanted to open up the tight end discussion. I felt like Fryer's team was a good option to open up that discussion with. Otherwise, he's got Hollywood in the flex, and he's got Judy on the bench. He's got James Conner on the bench, Kareem Hunt on the bench at flex. Are we sticking with Hollywood against Philly? Or are we going with Conner versus Philly, Hunt versus Chargers, Judy versus Indy?
Surprisingly, I'm leaving it how he has it. I'm not benching Damian Harris against the Lions' crap defense.
Right.
And Hollywood's had 11 plus targets the last 3 weeks. And James Conner is touchdown dependent and not scoring touchdowns.
And
so,
Billy shut down James Robinson last week. I mean, he only had 8 carries for 29 yards. He didn't get a lot of carries, but
I expect Philly to be winning that game, which means more throwing than running. So leave Hollywood in. Feels weird.
Yeah, I think banking on the shootout here, or at least the negative game script for Hollywood, probably does make sense. I would agree with you guys.
Yep.
Who's going to win?
I got Fryer.
Yeah.
I personally don't think James Robinson's going to score 2 points or whatever again. He's got some good receivers. Lamar Jackson's been awesome for the most part this year. I'm gonna go with Fryer. Like I'm just not seeing it from Jeremy's team right now. He just doesn't have, like, I mean, you never want to go with the name recognition, but like he doesn't have the guys. Like it doesn't seem like he has like a full team where it's like, oh yeah, this team over the course of the week will do great. It's like, well, one of these guys or 2 of these guys might do fine, but I think over the course of the week he'll be disappointed. So I'm going to go with Fryer.
I'm going to go with Jeremy. If Sanders and CEH both have solid matchups this week, if Amon-Ra plays and Chark doesn't, I think he ends up getting the bulk of it. If he doesn't play, then we might be talking about Thielen and Cooper might be a problem. But Aaron Rodgers against the Giants, I don't have a problem against playing against that defense. Christian Kirk against Houston, I think is fine. The running backs are fine. Andrews against Cincinnati, I don't think is a big problem. I think Jeremy's matchups can be fine, and if CEH and Sanders can have a good game, I'm going Jeremy. I've been wrong so many times anyway. I got to diversify here.
I have to say is that you're bigger than Jeremy now. Like he can't give you wedgies and get dunk you in the toilet anymore. Like you can stand your ground a little bit better. So I'm just saying, like you don't have to pick him.
I understand, but I don't know.
You said fine a lot. I don't think fine is going to beat Fryer here.
Hey, you know what? I don't know that I trust James Robinson full out, and who the hell knows what New England does with their running backs week to week. So I think there are question marks on Fryer's side too. Dalton Schultz could go for 0 again, which is going to suck when Mark Andrews goes for a touchdown plus a handful of yards. I don't know. There's enough question marks on Fryer's side as there is Jeremy's side.
Hey, for what it's worth, James Robinson's going up against Houston, who gave up Jonathan Taylor's only good game, Khalil Herbert's 157-2, and Austin Eckler's 3 touchdowns last week. So Houston, not good against those running backs.
Sure. I get it. Listen, I have to diversify. I'm giving myself a shot to make up a game here. All right, leave me alone.
I
Sounds like
appreciate that you're going for it. It's not working
Sounds like
so
you're
far.
giving yourself a shot to lose a game to me and Andy again.
Next
Whatever.
week, Ty, you can tell us all about how you got 2 right and we only got 1.
That's right. All right, we're going to the duo versus Charlie. We're getting off that game. All right. So the duo may or may not have a question with Keenan Allen. I don't know, his hamstrings are day to day, so we'll see. He only has Garrett Wilson right now, so I guess that's who you're playing. Jahan Dotson is probably going to be out for a couple weeks because he's also
Coach said a
dealing with
week
a
or
hamstring
2.
now.
Yeah.
So I guess you're starting Garrett Wilson if Keenan Allen is out, because you're not going to move Robert Woods up and start. I guess you could move Robert Woods up and start Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, the problem is Hines plays Thursday, and you're not going to know about Keenan until later in the week. So I think you're rolling with Garrett Wilson, which is fine. It's not great, but
there's not a whole lot else you can do there, though.
Yeah.
And then you're banking on, to be honest, you're banking on this Kamara situation. If not, you're throwing Hines in. True. Or you're finding somebody else to deal with. I don't know.
I think he's got to add a running back here in the waivers. I assume Duo is going to be throwing a lot of fab at one of the Denver running backs out there. I have to imagine.
So we'll see. All right, so let's go to Charlie. You're looking at Cam Akers, AJ Dillon, Ramondre Stevenson. Any thoughts on that? Cam Akers didn't have another great game, but neither did Darrell Henderson. They played the Niners. Niners shut him down all game. Stevenson had 14 carries last week, and Dillon had 17 carries. Are you subbing Akers in for either of those? You got 2 timeshare backs and a timeshare back in Akers.
Yeah, I think Akers was riding pine for me. His best game was 61 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble so far. Dillon's got more bursts than that. Stevenson against the Lions, I'm for sure playing this week. So Charlie doesn't have to play Akers, and if you don't have to, I don't want to.
Yeah. That's really the only lineup decision I'm seeing out of this.
Yep, I agree.
So who do you guys got in this one?
Man, because Henry plays against a bad Washington defense, I think that's going to be enough to drag Duo to what will probably be like a 80 to 74, 75 win.
Andy?
I'm tempted to pick Charlie, but I think that the disparity at quarterback here between Hurts to Goff is enough to pull Duo across the finish line. So I think it's close. I don't really like either of these teams, but Jalen Hurts is the only star I see on either of these lineups. I mean, Derrick Henry, Washington's fine against the run, and Derrick Henry doesn't look like who he was last year. But, I'm guessing he gets 12 points, and that's probably enough to beat Charlie. So I'll go Duo, but I don't like it.
Assuming Alvin Kamara's playing, I'm taking the Duo. If for some reason he's out again this week, Charlie's going to win now. Duo's got nothing to back him up.
I think Charlie's like ace in the hole here is Godwin, because against Atlanta, there's going to be plenty of get right potential there. And if Godwin shows up, he took a lot of punishment last week and was able to generally kind of hold up. So if he plays a full game and they end up airing it out, Like, I would not be surprised if at next week's podcast we're all like, oh my gosh, Godwin had this massive random game. Is he back? And then he probably pulls a hamstring on his way back to the bus or something. But I think he might be a talisman there for Charlie. But without him, yeah, I think it's duo.
All right. Well, this is gonna be a close game though. I think Charlie. This is very well a game Charlie can pull another upset and go 3-2, go 3-2 here,
Yeah,
which would be nuts.
Real bad for Jeremy and Colin is what it would be.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, you want to jump us into Boyer and Walker?
Yeah, I can do that. Let's see here.
Be much appreciated.
Walker's got Henderson, Pollard, Lockett in the flex this week. Ingram jumps into consideration if Kamara's out, and might be my play, depending on how you guys feel about the rest of these guys. Yeah, I don't think I'm playing Lockett against the Saints.
Ooh.
But maybe Walker needs Lockett to catch up to Boyer. Maybe he needs to swing for the fences. I don't think he does. I think that Jefferson and AJ Brown are enough upside in and of themselves that I'm gonna go Pollard in the flex. I'm gonna go the double dip, lock in the production from the Cowboys backfield. What do you guys got?
I am not playing the double dip in the backfield.
I mean, the Rams just got gashed by the Niners.
Did they get gashed by the Niners, or was it one good run by Jeff Wilson that really did it? The running game of the San Francisco 49ers did not look great against the Rams. Debo gashed them for a long touchdown. Wilson gashed them for a long touchdown. Other than that, the running game really wasn't good. We beat them in the air. So I don't know that I'm double dipping on the running backs in Dallas this week. Unless you're banking on Pollard getting a lot of them outside catches, scatting out of the backfield and being able to make something happen. The Rams were good at shutting down the middle against the Niners. And if they can do it against the Niners, I think they can do it against Dallas. So I personally am probably leaving Lockett in. He's been getting targets. And I hate Lockett. So for me to say put Lockett in and leave him in, this is a hard pill to swallow for me. But I don't trust Henderson. I don't trust Pollard against the Rams. And I'm not playing Josh Reynolds, assuming any other option comes back for Detroit. So leaves me with Tyler Lockett.
Who you got?
I'm probably playing like in this order of what happens. If Kamara's out, I'm playing Ingram. If Kamara's in and the rest of the Detroit wide receivers are out, I'm playing Reynolds. And then after that, I would play. Man, that's tough. New Orleans defense is just they're legit. They've shut down teams like for real. So I think I'm probably gonna go with Pollard and hope that like he's the guy that gets space. If you're expecting like a Debo type of run where Ty was just saying big run here, big run there, the Rams can give that up. We've just seen that. Pollard's going to be the guy I think to do it. So I'd probably go with Pollard, but I don't feel good about it because the Rams are a good defense and they can pretty much stuff the run otherwise. So I don't feel great, but I don't think I can play Lockett against the Saints defense. That defense is good. Like it is very legitimately good. And I don't think the Seahawks offense is, I think after this week or the next week, we'll say they are who we thought they are. Right. So,
but if they put Lattimore over on DK,
I mean, I don't care. Honestly, I don't feel like the number 2 wide receiver against the Saints has been super great. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when we look at the advanced stats or whatever, I'm wrong. But the Saints defense is good. It's a very good defense all the way around. Sure. Lattimore can shut down the number 1, but the defense itself can just shut down offenses. And I think that this is probably where we start to see the Seahawks' true color. I don't think Geno Smith is a 77% completion percentage type quarterback on a regular basis. And he's going to run into a buzzsaw in the Saints defense here. And we're probably going to see him struggle a little bit. So
That's fair.
I don't think that Lockett's the play in this particular matchup.
I
like
just don't like other options.
But in this matchup, I don't. I'd rather have Pollard because I think against the Rams defense, they can give up big plays. And Pollard is the big play guy in Dallas. And I'd rather have that, I think.
Cool.
But
let's move on.
All right, so Boyer's lineup's pretty locked in. I don't think there's any consideration for putting ETN in over Brees Hall. Not until we see more out of Travis Etienne. So the only real question is, are you putting Taysom Hill in yet? Or are you rolling with Tunyon, or are you going back to Dawson Knox? You're fishing for a touchdown, and I kind of think Taysom Hill's the best at those.
I think Taysom Hill only got 3 or 4 rushing attempts in the last game, which I was
all
hoping
touchdowns.
I was hoping that he would still get a little bit more touches on a regular basis to give me more of a floor. And Tunyon's route percentage has gone up since the start of the year after his ACL surgery. So I'm leaning towards Tunyon. Giants aren't a great defense, and I think Rodgers will find Tunyon enough to make it worth it. I don't think I need to swing for the fences here necessarily with my tight end. I just need him to score some points. So I'm probably leaning Tunyon. I don't have a lot of hope in Knox right now until he starts getting more consistently targeted. And I'm going to go with the offense with a great quarterback that doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver and hope that Tunyon has a good game.
Fair enough. I don't like any of these options, so I'm going Taysom Hill. Ty, which one would you pick?
Well, I was leaning on Dawson Knox, so
fair enough. Glad we settled it for you, Boyer.
That's to be honest, that's the issue. Like every week that I have to just to be fair, I had Taysom Hill. I had Taysom Hill in my lineup on Saturday night this last week because I was like, I feel it. And then I was like, nope, don't feel it. Switch it to Tunyon. So
you know what the good thing is? All of them have scored more than Dr. Schultz over the last 3 weeks anyway. So you still got a better tight end than Pryor.
Yeah, well, that makes me feel good that I have one tight end better than one other team. Ty, what do you want for Everett? We talked about this. Let's can we create a trade here on podcasts or
no? That's gonna take too long. I haven't had a chance to look. I got other people reaching out to me too, man.
Come on, man.
Probably Fryer.
No, Pryor should, but he's not one that's reached out yet.
All right. Well, I got Boyer in this matchup. I don't think Walker's receivers are enough to catch up to the rest of Boyer's team.
Yep. I'm nervous about Zeke and Gordon this week. I know Gordon's the starting running back, but they're bringing in Murray. They've got Boone. Gordon fumbled, has had some rough time. I think he's a fine running back, but who the hell knows what Denver's going to do? I think Boyer's going to get the win this week.
Yeah, on this one, I think Josh Allen gives me enough of a floor to pretty much put me in just about every game, and Walker doesn't have the same level of position players right now that I have. I like Walker's team, but I think it'll be close. So it'll make me sweat it out, but I'm going to go with me.
All right. Boyer, you're up. Jump me to Colin versus Robbie.
Colin and Robbie. All right, so taking a quick peek. Real quick, yes or no? Are you benching Wilson yet for Derek Carr? Carr's against Kansas City. Could be in a shootout.
Nope, not this week. No, Javonte Williams going down. As long as Wilson's healthy, I'm playing him.
Yeah, I think we saw a little bit of a flash out of Russell Wilson, and that's enough for me to keep him in over Carr at this point.
Okay, and then looking at the rest of Collins' bench, I don't see anybody else that I would want to put in over Waddle, Kittle, Jacobs, Taylor, Olave, and Devonta Smith. I mean, am I missing something here?
Nope. His bench is terrible.
San Francisco at Carolina, probably being played over the Chargers against Cleveland. So yeah.
I'd switch it. Yeah, keep the Niners in.
Well,
I've done it last week.
weird. We're in agreement on stuff. I'm confused.
Can we talk about what the hell he's going to do if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play this week?
I think he's going to
play James Cook.
Yeah.
Luckily, they could be up big against Pittsburgh early, and then he gets work. But
I don't think that's going to happen.
Sorry, I just had to throw it out there as a possibility.
Yeah, I think that he's hoping that Taylor is better on crutches out there right now than any other option that he has on his bench. So he's hoping that if Taylor's like, oh, like I'm hurt, it's like go out there on crutches, get a couple yards, figure it out.
All right, what's Robbie got?
Robbie's got
receiver issues.
He does have receiver issues. So Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. This has been well documented throughout the year, and I'm confused on how. So to be fair, he has asked me about Brandon Cooks and then never messaged me back. But it means
about Ayuk and didn't
he's got an
message me
issue.
back.
Probably from
I got halfway into a trade convo with him today too, and then it died. I know Robbie's a busy man. He's got 0 kids, so it's hard. I get it, but you know, whenever you get around to it, Robbie, we're here for you. We got receivers. Just let us know sometime around week 7.
The real question at this point is like how does he turn one of his running backs into like probably 2 good receivers that he could actually play on a regular basis? I don't know where that deal is going to come in, but other than that, I mean, Robinson, Mooney, Landry. Are you putting in Landry at all at this point?
I'm putting in Myers if he's healthy against Detroit in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I can see that.
Get Mooney out of my lineup.
Over Allen Robinson?
Sure.
I'm
Allen Robinson's going to catch a touchdown. Mooney needs a big play, and Justin Fields is not a big play guy.
How about
I would love to see more volume out of Allen Robinson, but at least they throw more than 12 times a game. I can't bank on the Bears passing offense in any way, shape, or form.
I'm keeping Mooney in and I'm benching Robinson.
They're both duds, but I feel like I got to at least go with the volume in Robinson. But yeah, Robbie, if you can make a move, get literally anyone else into your starting lineup, that'd be good for you. But Landry fell behind Olave after week 1, so I'm not playing him either. Landry's droppable at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting how many targets he had to start off with, and then Olave just like stole his job, I guess. But I don't even know. I don't understand where Robbie's wide receivers could even take him at this point. Like, regardless of how good your running backs are, like at some point your wide receivers have to put up more than like 2 points a game. Like they have to. Like, you're not going to win a championship that way, I don't think. So we'll see what he does. Maybe he makes a move this week. Maybe it takes him another 3 or 4 weeks before he finally does, and then it's too late. But who you guys got on this particular matchup?
I've got Colin as long as Taylor plays. If Taylor sits, Colin's team's pretty fucked right now.
Yep. I was hoping you'd both say Robbie because I was hoping to grab a Colin changeover. The wide receivers scare me. Najee Harris against Buffalo scares me. Saquon can gash Green Bay. But if Hawkinson doesn't put up 30 points again, Robbie doesn't have that firepower. So if Taylor's in, Colin wins. If he's not, well, I'm with Andy on this, and Robbie's going to win.
I'm not even in on Taylor. I think Colin might win because Devonta Smith has Arizona. Should be a shootout. Olave against Seattle, bad defense. Josh Jacobs against KC. He should get plenty of goal line work. They should be able to move the ball enough to get him work. Kittle against Carolina, Waddle against the Jets. Like, these are good matchups for Colin. So I think Colin ends up winning this one. I think he's got a lot of guys who could end up providing a lot of points.
Kittle's got to get involved.
Still, he's got to play James Cook. That's a big hit.
Like, Carolina would be the team to do it with. So
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying he's got to get involved. Otherwise, Collins' team's going to be hurting too.
it's not like Jimmy G hasn't thrown it to Kittle before, so we know it can happen. Like, it's just a matter of time, I feel like, once it does.
I get it. We're just ragging on other tight ends for not having good games, and his two coming back are 28 and 24 yards. So I'm just throwing it out there as a Niners fan. Kittle has to get involved.
Yeah, the difference is that Kittle's done it before. So, like, we know what Kittle can be, I guess.
All right, you know what that means? We're moving on. Paul versus Andy. So I didn't mean to cut you off, or I did.
You did.
Either way.
100%.
All right, so going to Paul. Paul has. Are you guys set in stone on Drake? I mean, Drake London has to be in, right? Are you starting Drake London? He's got Tampa Bay this week. Because my other question, he doesn't have much else on the bench.
Right, it would be London or Algier, right?
Right. So which one do you want to play against the Tampa Bay defense? Do you want to go against the run or against the pass?
I'd go with the receiver.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, but you're not sitting Cup and Debo. They're both playing.
Sure.
Wilson and Herbert are both playing. So it really comes down to your flex or whatever you want to call Drake London in your wide receiver 2 slot. Is it London or Algier?
I'm going London.
I think the next 2 weeks are going to be tough on Algier against Tampa Bay and San Francisco defense.
Yeah, now it's the weeks you wanted to have your opportunity come along.
Right.
And like, he's still a rookie, and they've got some other running backs. None of them are good, but like,
right.
Pass protection tends to come along pretty slow for rookies, and some of the other like ancillary things that coaches want to see, because it's not just what you do with the ball in your hands, right? So he might be okay at running the ball even against these bad teams, but like, that doesn't mean he's going to be on the field full time just because Patterson's down. So I'll be curious to see what Algier's able to do, but we've seen it out of Drake London, and Drake London was a first-round draft pick, so I'm definitely going that way until we see something to change our minds.
For sure. All right. So really, that was the only decision on Paul's side. Andy, your side comes down to nothing.
Someone on my bench or Lazard, probably.
Yeah. I guess Gibson or Lazard. Gibson, because you're not sitting McLaurin.
No.
I mean,
I'm playing DK and McLaurin. It's whether or not I play Lazard this week.
Yeah, granted, Lazard is. I mean, him and Romeo Dobbs have flipped off as like the wide receiver 1, but I still think Lazard's a wide receiver 1. Against Tennessee, though, I don't know. Boyer, Gibson or Lazard?
Who we got? Oh man, I'm gonna go with Lazard.
Yeah, shit. Well, I think I was leaning Gibson for touch volume just to give you a floor, because Paul's team is good.
I don't think the Giants defense is very good. I think this is very much a good Packers offense.
Roll it out and let it go.
Coming up. Yeah. I really do. They haven't had like a big output game. They've struggled against teams that they really shouldn't have, but I feel like the Giants is very much a get right game for this offense, and they'll look good. So I think Lazard's got a good chance. I'm not so certain about Gibson. He's getting carries and stuff, but he's still struggling and showing why Washington wanted to replace him with the guy who got shot 3 times.
Who is activated and likely to play this week.
I don't know that he's likely to play this week.
3 weeks ago.
His gunshot wounds are scabbed over. He's fine.
Okay.
They just recently stopped bleeding, Tyler.
My bad. They're fine. It's fine.
He's good to go. It's called gauze. You just slap it on there. You go run 100 yards. You're fine.
All right. I'm leaning Gibson, but I don't know. You do what you got to do with that Lazard Gibson situation.
I'm definitely playing Lazard. I am excited to see what he's been doing, and he finally got the volume last week. Both of those, he missed the first game with the ankle, and then both of the next two games, he caught a touchdown but didn't do a ton. He spent a little bit of time on the sidelines in both games coming off the field because of the ankle bothering him. And last week he was finally good to go, and we saw 114 yards. So I mean, maybe that doesn't continue, but I like what he is, and I feel like he's the number one in Green Bay, which is a big deal. So
Yeah.
I'm rolling with him.
That was against a good defense in New England. The Giants looked susceptible to a really, really, really bad Bears passing attack. So,
Hey, has anybody looked into how good Cousins is at running a bootleg?
he's pretty good. Last time I checked, he's one of the better, pass, play action, pass, bootleggy type.
No, but I
quarterbacks.
mean, like, can he get 20 yards down the field for a wide open touchdown if he runs a bootleg like 8 times in the first quarter?
He can if the Bears don't let their defensive end play a contain at all. So
a couple rushing touchdowns in the
he's
first half
still-
for Kirk
he's still
Cousins.
pushing. I'm pretty sure I could play and get a couple touchdowns running bootlegs against the
Yeah,
Bears.
so you start to go one way and then you like turn around and peel off going the other way, and then there's no one there.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure I could actually get a touchdown. I'll break my leg doing it, but I'll get the touchdown.
All right, Jeremy, play Cousins this week.
Jeremy doesn't have Cousins.
He did.
Chris has Cousins.
Chris, play Cousins this week.
Whoever
I
has
can't keep them
Cousins,
straight.
play
The
Cousins.
people who have shitty quarterbacks play Cousins this week.
All right. Let's get back to who's going to win this matchup. I'm not even sure how this pertains at all to this situation. So let's talk about what's at hand here. Boyer, who's going to win, Paul or Andy?
Oh man, I never want to bet against Andy because every time I do, he always wins, and then he ends up winning the playoff or getting into the playoffs, and then he's a pain in the ass. I like Paul's team. I'm kind of shocked that it has, like, on a points for basis, he's not showing up, but he's 3-1. Man, this one's really tough to me. I'm gonna go with Paul, I think. Check back with me later.
I like Paul's matchups. I'm just nervous about. I shouldn't be, but I'm nervous about Herbert and Wilson. I don't know why I'm nervous about them, but I am. Is Montgomery going to be back this week? I don't know.
Paul has Monty, so either way.
Well, yeah, but that's a worst case scenario. If Montgomery comes back and they split carries, that's worse for Paul than it is if there's just one running back.
True.
So I don't like Mixon against Baltimore, but Mixon gets the volume. Chubb gets the volume. I'm leaning Andy, but it's going to be a close game.
I'm going me.
Definitively.
I mean, we're making picks, right?
Yeah.
Definitive on all of them.
That's
You
fair.
guys started saying maybes in my matchup.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, I'm picking you
This
as a
I
close win.
I legit think this is going to be like the game of the week. I think this one's going to be real close.
So, all right. With that, good luck this week. I plan on getting my second win, hitting my winning streak towards playoffs. We'll see what happens. I'm not even sure why I'm getting a finger from Boyer right now. But all right, good enough. Good luck this week, and we'll see you guys back next week. Do that like, subscribe, comment thing if you want. If not, whatever. We'll see you next week anyway.